We're in Chicago at the Muscle Car and Corvette National Show. My first time here, actually. Love it, love it. The crowd's actually impressing me. I knew it'd be big, but this is impressive. I brought a 1966 Ford Fairlane GT-X prototype car, an original Ford show car from the 60s. Obviously, everybody had show cars back in the 60s. You know, Ford, Chrysler, Chevy all had their show cars, you know, premiering the all-new, in this case, it would be the all-new body style 66 Ford Fairlane. So they made a prototype concept car, which was this. And so it toured the world, the country in 1966 as the all-new Ford Fairlane, which was the first, you know, Fairlane to accept a big block. So this was their introduction to the muscle car wars in the 60s. And obviously GTO was years ahead of them, and everybody, and so was obviously GM and everybody else. So here's the Fairlane midsize car, big block. So they built this one-of-one prototype, and then so it was a complete car. They sent it off to Gene Winfield in California at the time, and they gave him instructions how to customize this car to exactly their specs, you know. And back in the day, so they used all the go goodies that would have been really starting to come onto the scene in 1965. So like, okay, Hurst Mags, they came out in 65, you know. It's got an Ansen shifter, which wasn't even, this is actually a prototype Ansen shifter. You know, Ansen steering wheel and Hurst shocks and, you know, all the Mickey Thompson valve covers, all the go goodies of the mid 60s, because they were all brand new to the scene, you know. And so they put all these things on the car, and I went to the Detroit Auto Show, Autorama, in January of 66. Again, that's Ford putting their feelers out, like, you know, how is the world like this show here? How are they gonna like this car? And you take away the good, you take away the bad, and this was, obviously the real car was never like this, you know, good, bad, or otherwise, but back then it just came out in 1965, the 427 medium riser, side oiler. It was all the rage. They ran them in NASCAR, drag racing. So why wouldn't you put it in here this is our 427, our best motor we got right now, you know? So, and it's way cooler even now, 50 years later. So when they sent this car to Gene, it was an automatic on the column, bench seat car, Fairlane 500. If you're a Ford guy, this all makes sense. You know, just a car. Well, then he takes it, he puts a floor shifter conversion kit in it, a prototype, because they didn't have a shift kit for a 66 Fairlane in January of 65. That's not possible, you know? And so, so he takes the bench out, takes out the back seat. Ford sends him 4 bucket seats. He gets them upholstered like this, adapts them to the car. It's kind of funny, they're bolted right to the floor. They don't tip, they don't move. Most of the parts on this car are for looks only. Very few things actually function. So it is a show car. It was a show car then, it's a show car now. It'll drive from here to across that room, but there's no way you can drive it down the road. So we literally, when he painted this in 65, and of course Gene painted this again in 2011. Same guy painted the same car twice, you know? So this is matched to those seats perfectly. If you see the two in daylight, dead on. It took us hours. You know, I had the seat material, I had samples, and Gene's at my house, and we're painting, trying to match this to those seats. And 6-7 times later, 5 hours later, we got it. This is 99.9% 1965. No reproduction, no aftermarket. Basically took me 6 years, because I don't do this professionally. It's just my hobby. It's just, I was a tech advisor for the Fairlane Club for 20 years, back in the 80s, 90s, whatever. Some lady emailed me. Her brother had this car, he had passed away, and she was trying to clean up his estate and get things ducks in a row. And so she emailed me and didn't really know what it was. Can you appraise the car? Can you give me any help whatsoever? Well, once I saw the car, it was like, oh, wow, you know, oh, it ain't worth nothing because I want it, you know? So long story longer, eventually I ended up owning the car, and like everybody tells you, you overpaid for it. It is priceless. I mean, and so I'm the Fairlane guy. Here's the very first 66 Fairlane ever made. Okay, I needed to own it. That was it, you know? So Ford had given Gene Winfield 3 artist rendering drawings, like just the charcoal drawings, one from the front side, back side, and side, and said, make us this car. And all this stuff was in the artist rendering drawings. So he just took the pictures and made a real car. And I now have him, but he still had the 3 artist rendering drawings when I went to his house in early 2000s after I acquired the car. And so it shows all of this. Yeah, so it has the exhaust that comes out in front of the rear tire, which bypasses the mufflers. So again, 1965 Cal Custom exhaust cutouts, you know? So he'd put them on there per Ford. There's little levers you can pull manual back then. Right behind the driver's seat, you reach back and there's 2 little chrome knobs. When you pull the knobs out, it bypasses the mufflers and goes straight out the side exhaust. Super loud, super annoying. So yeah, it's a prototype slash concept car slash show car. And and it was called the GT-X. So then by total coincidence, in 1967, Chrysler comes out with a GT-X. And the emblem on the GT-X looks exactly like the artist rendering drawing. So Ford never put the emblem on. I have paperwork from Gene Winfield asking him not to put the emblem on because it was really goofy looking. But the emblem in the artist rendering drawings is the exact emblem that came out in '67 on the GT-X. And if you go look at like a '69 or '67 Camaro that has the 4 scoops on each side of the hood, right here. And Chevrolet admitted in the magazines that they took it from this car right here. And Chrysler admitted they took the GT-X name. It was never copyrighted, so hey, good enough, you know. So I called his shop. I said, yeah, can I talk to Gene? I want to tell him about some car I just found. Oh yeah, I'll put him on. You know, I said, Gene, I found this '66 Ford Fairlane that you did. He goes, you found the old Fairlane, huh? I'm like, well, he's actually personable. And the next thing he said to me, he goes, I'm going to paint it for you, ain't I? You'll let me paint it for you, right?
Oh, that's
He's
awesome.
begging to paint it. I said, man, you are the guy.
All right.
Again, it was literally 10 years after that because I pushed it aside, but he painted it.
That's
And we had 1,000 phone calls, and he goes, Marty, he goes, I'm painting this car how I painted it in '65. He goes, Ford gave me 6 weeks to customize this, strip it, customize it, make all these moldings and paint it. He goes, I painted that thing in 5 minutes. He goes, we're doing it again, so you might want to close your eyes. He goes, here's what I need from you. And so we're painting it as a whole car, not like the hood off, doors off, whatever.
Okay.
He goes, I want to have overspray, because the car used to be blue. The car was that color right there. He goes, so you're going to paint all the blue on the car so I can paint over the blue. And I'm going to overspray over the blue. And the whole underside's blue. The trunk is blue.
Delivered from Ford?
When it was delivered from Ford, it was just a blue car. So he goes, you got to paint the blue because I'm going to overspray the blue with white. And on the inside, I'm going to overspray the light blue with the metallic. And he goes, and I'm going to do this. And I'm listening to this going, God, I can live with about half of these, but it's just like, and he goes, we're going to put in, he goes, I did this and this and this, and I didn't have time. And so he does it at the body shop, and I'm just like, God, I don't know if I can live with that, And I'm just like, oh. So he's yelling at me and screaming at me, get out of the paint booth. I go, can we just do it a hair better, like under here, over here? Can you do a hair more overspray over here, or a hair less over here? And we compromised. So, and now we're great friends. He gets it.